Hi, beautiful people. This is Jen, and I have a dear friend of mine. Her name is Michelle Hall. So we've known each other since last year when we were in the Shamanic Academy, and we're both certified guided energy medicine practitioner. So today I'm so honored to have Michelle to join me and to share with you all the healing juju that she has been on. So hi, Michelle.
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor. Thank you.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. So my dear, would you love to share with us how the healing journey has taken you up to this moment of who you are today? I know this is a big question to ask, but for people who are watching this, and I believe we are all on this healing journey together, and we're all gonna feel, inspired in a way to see each other and witness each other's grand soul exploration. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, for a lot of years, I never really felt like I fit in, to the point where I would have anxiety and depression, even panic attacks. I didn't understand the world the way that it worked. I saw it through very different lens, and I just it didn't make sense, and it was not a place that I really wanted to be. There were times that, I'd take my puppy for a walk and I'd end up lying down in the sidewalk having a panic attack, just walking the dog. And it was really overwhelming, and I felt really powerless. And a lot of it, I feel, came from not feeling like I was worthy, that I had any worth, because what was so important to me, as far as, being loving and compassionate and caring and understanding, it just wasn't reflected back or valued in the world that I saw, the way that I was seen in.
Wow.
So it was.
Thank you so much for sharing, because I feel like while you're sharing your pain, it literally like coincide with my heart right now, like not being able to fit in, the doubt of whether I'm worthy or not. May I ask, like, when did it start? Did it start very early?
Oh, for me, that was my experience from very early on.
Yeah.
It was my experience from being a little kid, was, that I had to look a certain way and behave a certain way, and that my perception of the world, as far as being understanding, if somebody's not being kind, that was stupid. And I had all of that imprinted on me from very, very young. And it definitely, we set ourselves up for challenges when we come here. And I most certainly set myself up for a lot of opportunities to grow and expand. And I'm glad that I've experienced everything that I have, because it did bring me to the point where I had to see things differently and try new things, which brought me to receiving energy healing. And it really was such a beautiful thing, because it started to crack open my perception of being powerless and not being good enough, and to really see how I wasn't a victim. I wasn't powerless, that I am just wired differently, and that's okay too. And the path, I followed the breadcrumbs, and that led me to the academy and becoming a certified guided energy medicine practitioner, which I am so honored and humbled to be able to facilitate. And it gives me such fulfillment, because I've actually been able to shift my perspective, not only about myself, but really find the place where I belong in this world, and be able to stand in my own worth, in my own wholeness, and my own self-love, and continue to cultivate that self-love, even with all my imperfections, because, we're all human, we're all on this journey, and just embracing it, embracing my wholeness, embracing all that I am, and knowing that I always have the choice in how I respond and how I behave and how I allow to be myself to be treated. There's so much power in those things.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you know how we're connecting right now, we're the astrological weather. It's Scorpio full moon and we're in between eclipses, and you can feel, I know you're a sensitive empath as me. Okay. So
Yes, yes.
as much as we want to be so, quote unquote normal, but sometimes our sensitivity, it can get really, really like act up in a way, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
as we're healing our heart, and it's a long-term practice. It's not a short-term process, right?
No, not at all.
Like sensitivity, I want to get in touch with your sensitivity. Okay, so how do you hone in your sensitivity when everything is like crumbling down around you? Like I feel depressed, I feel disempowered, I feel like I'm a victim. I'm saying before you are even having the chance to pivot yourself, Can you share a little
Yeah.
bit of how did you feel when you are a sensitive being? And also after the pivotal moment, how do you play with
Yeah,
the sensitivity? Yeah.
yeah, that's a great question. One before the pivot, I like that word. I would always, not always, but my way of dealing with my sensitivity was trying to ensure that everything around me was calm.
Mm,
If I could ensure everything around me was calm and peaceful, then I knew that I was okay. Um, and if that meant taking care of somebody emotionally rather than myself, then that's what I did. Didn't even know myself and my own needs well enough to be able to care for my own sensitivity. So it was very much feeling overwhelming and heavy.
yeah.
Um, the heaviness of it and the weight of it was really just made it hard to get out of bed. The self-care was challenging, and interacting with people, feeling their fear, the way that it would come across and through to me was not realizing that it wasn't mine. I didn't even realize that it wasn't mine. I didn't have the discernment to know what was mine and what wasn't. So I would absorb everything and take it on thinking that it was mine, that they were my faults or my, my lacks. So it was not a very fun way to live.
You're speaking, I feel like you're speaking my situation, where when I was trying to like kind of like shuffle it down under the bag, I just
Yeah.
don't want to deal with it. And for me, I don't know about your coping mechanism, but for me, I would turn into a chameleon. So I try my hardest to fit it into certain, group or friend circle, whatever, for me to feel belong, but then that sense of belonging, there's still that emptiness inside, but I didn't want to face it before my own pivot moment of losing my hearing, So I'm curious about yours. Like, is there any coping mechanism that you use to kind of like, control your sensitivity? Do you know what I mean?
To control my sensitivity, it wasn't so much trying to control my sensitivity,
Yeah.
because I never really realized how sensitive I was.
Yeah.
I honestly never knew how differently I am wired
Yeah.
than some people. And so for me, my coping mechanism was to, if there was disharmony around, to almost translate, okay, well, this person is trying to tell you this and that person's trying to say that, and try and open up the communication channels, or try and ease the other person's burden. Whether it was bringing over a bag of groceries or helping out with something,
Mm.
but showing up in that way, that was the way that the only way I knew how to try and have peace.
So kind of overextending yourself to
Absolutely,
another.
absolutely overextending myself.
Mm.
And then as far as comforting for me, very much food. Food was my go-to as far as when I was feeling bad about myself or
Mm.
whatever the case may be, to try and just feel safe and comfortable. I could control what I eat, and that was, again, something I learned when I was little. So it has really shifted so profoundly in knowing that, number one, we're all whole and complete and capable of finding our way, and that I don't have to be responsible for anybody other than me, that I am whole on my own and I am safe in myself, and that I am able to always tap into the love and connection that's all around
Mm.
just by breathing, feeling the oxygen come into my lungs, and knowing that my blood is carrying it around, that it's I have a different way now to actually focus my sensitivity and feel safe without having to take on everything that's going on around me, which
So,
allows me to really just stand in the truth of who I am and be a light for others to know that they are whole and complete and can find their way too.
yeah, because with your grounded presence, I feel that, like I totally feel that, right? And it feels like, we're turning from just like super sensitive, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with our sensitivity, to an empowered, like I feel more empowering. We're empowered empath, right? And from
Absolutely.
that place to connect with the outer world is much more in flow, rather than like, oh my God, I feel I'm going to be attacked by other people's energy. We're soaking it up, right? Um,
Right.
oh my God, this word, okay, these two words came in right now, is choose you, choose you,
Yes.
right? And,
Yes.
healing journey is a journey of self-love. It's a journey of self-love, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we got different storylines, but we got our own self-love, mastery we have to learn.
Yeah.
And how, I would love to have you to share more about the concept. It's not a concept anymore. Like choosing you, these two words are powerful, but sometimes like, what are some practical ways for people to choose themselves if they're also, highly empathic like us?
I love the question. I can share the ways that I've learned to
Yeah.
choose me. And they're simple things.
Mm.
Um, Choosing myself to know that I need a good night's sleep and go to bed at a good time so
Yeah.
that I can get proper rest. Choosing me when I'm feeling that overwhelm to take a step back and say, you know what, let's revisit this. I need a moment.
Mhm.
Taking that pause, and coming back to my own center, coming back to my own calm and peace within, and then re-engaging with whatever might be going on around from that place of calm. For me, that's pivotal in choosing me.
Oh, so
Uh,
beautiful. It's I feel like choosing me has two different kind of angle to look at it. For me, it's been a path as well. Like choosing me at first was like, oh my God, am I selfish? Especially in the culture, it's more reserved and people want to show their love, their kindness by overgiving. And now you're choosing yourself. You're not giving your, kindness to other people. And then so I struggle a lot at the beginning of this self-love journey. Like, how do I choose me? How do I choose me? So I see choosing me from the outer perspective. It's okay to let people think however they want to look at me, however they want to perceive me, and not be like, disrupted by the outside opinions. I think that's
Yeah.
by doing that, I choose me. I choose my sanity. I choose my sanity over the, insanity in the outer world. And the other side is choosing me internally when there's I don't know, like, I'm trying to sabotage myself with my fearful
Hmm.
thoughts. I have to say, no, I choose me. Where's me? Me is not in the fearful voices. Me is in the heart, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
choosing us every single day. It's a commitment, to be honest.
Oh my gosh, so much of a commitment. And I love what you said about choosing you when other people are looking at you, because there's always that people are projecting onto each other
Yep.
from their own filter and from their own lenses,
Yeah.
and being able to say, you know what, that's yours, that's your opinion, and having that boundary to be able to say, no, that's you, not me, and really just stand in my own truth, whether somebody doesn't believe in energy or they do believe in energy, or whatever the disagreement is, knowing that that's their truth and that's just as beautiful, but it doesn't mean that my truth is any less valid, and
Exactly.
that there is that equality, and that we are all on our own sovereign journeys, and that's okay. And it's okay not to resonate with people. It's okay to let old things fall away that no longer are serving. There's a tendency, I think, for myself at least, to try and hold on to things, um, because there's comfort in that, but there's a beauty in letting go, and knowing that letting go is also choosing me, because it's making the space for new things to arrive.
Letting go is part of choosing me. Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Amen to that.
yeah,
And also, I just feel like, the world we're in right now, there's so much separation and division. And sometimes it's so easy for us to see, like, oh my God, I need to justify this situation, right? So we tend to just blame. I still call myself, sometimes in the blaming spiral. I have to pull myself
oh
back
yeah.
in and say, we're not going there, lady. We're not going there. It's a conscious choice.
Oh
And
yeah.
and how do we, but in essence, we are all dealing with our own separation within. If it's not, collectively wouldn't be,
Mm,
when is such separation in the
yeah,
collective feel, right? But what's going on inside of me that feels separated?
absolutely. And I love that you brought that into the conversation, because we are really living in a time where everything is pushing to try and keep us separated, and trying to blame, and um, the division.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing, because it does allow us to really see different perspectives, but there is also, underneath that, there's a unity. There's a wholeness where um, we're all looking for the same types of things. We're all looking to feel safe, to feel happiness, to have happy families and productive lives, and be able to, have food and shelter and all of those basic necessities. At the end of the day, we really are so much more alike than we are different. And we have an opportunity in each and every day to see how much alike we are, and to come from that place rather than coming from the differences.
Mm,
Um, but it is not prominent at all to focus on that. And I personally believe that we are going to evolve into the place where we see the unity and create together, and are able to know that despite our differences, we are all still one human race.
yeah.
And we truly are connected to the planet, and that the planet is here supporting us in our experience, so we can remember that we are love. We're all love. It's what we want to. We want to be able to give our love. We want to be able to receive love, and it comes back to the heart.
And sometimes I feel like, we tend to overlook our healing power within, right? The healing power within is starting from, am I willing to be aware, right? Am I willing to be aware to see the bullshit that I've made it up, right? Because once I claim my BS, it's
Oh my gosh.
empowering. It's an empowering moment for me to say, whoa, I get to create another story because I created that one I didn't like. And now I can do
Absolutely.
something completely different, or that makes me feel more worth living.
Absolutely. I had created a story where I didn't fit in, where I didn't belong, where I was an outsider, where I wasn't accepted because of the way that I looked. And it was a very, very powerful story. Um, but it wasn't the truth of who I was. And I have the power to look that in the eye and know that that is a beautiful part of my journey. And I love the experience for the opportunity that it gave for me to discover my own worth, my own self-love, because that loving myself in my wholeness, with all my mistakes, with all the imperfections, with all the beauty and with all the grace, no one can take that away. Nobody can take my self-love away from me, because it's something that I've cultivated myself, and it's always available to me. And it doesn't mean that I'm perfect or that I'm not going to make mistakes, because that's just part of life. It's how we learn. We fall, we get up. Sometimes we fall, we skin our knee, we get hurt really badly, and hurt hurts.
Thank you.
Yet
Yeah.
there's always grace in it. There's always an opportunity to say, okay, I could have done that better, but not doing it with blaming myself or blaming yourself, because you know what? We're just learning. Nobody gave us a handbook for this thing called life. And our parents, as much as, we love them and they love us, they're handing down stories from their parents just as much as that we learned. And to say, look at that story and say, you know what, I don't think that that's necessarily true for me, and break those patterns. It takes a lot of patience and self-compassion, because it truly is, we're just learning. In a way, we're all really still little kids that are just trying to figure out how to do this human thing and work together and create this world in peace and love.
Thank you. It's like, the word you just shared, he's like Grace. That's my sister's name, Grace. And I have to say, in order to receive grace for ourselves, discernment is needed, and discernment is something, for example, like, can we tell the voice is from our intuition? That's the yearning, internal desire that wants us to just, break through and to surrender to the divine flow, or it's the fearful voice here, like trying to dominate us, right? Like, can we tell them apart? It's like, it takes so much discernment to live our everyday life in order to receive grace and say, you know what, my mistake is graceful. Give mistakes and some honor, rather than say, well, I'm trying to avoid mistakes so I can seem like I get it all, right? Because this human life is not perfect. It's the least perfect you can get.
Absolutely. The desire to be perfect, the desire to not make mistakes, is just another way to try and protect ourselves. And almost, for me, a way of, if I'm perfect to everybody else, then I'm all right. rather than just being myself and going, you know what, I did. I totally goofed that up. I totally said the wrong thing, and that was hurtful, and, you know, owning it, just own it, because there's a lot to be said for being accountable for
Mm,
when we mess up, and what, as well as being able to just come to the place of going, you know what, that's okay. That was a part of me that um, I'm still learning to not be reactive and be defensive, or, you know, um, I don't know what the right word is, but when coming from that place of fear, um, just holding compassion for myself as well as accountability. Because yes, these are old patterns that I've learned. You know, these are very deep fears that we all have. Um, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of not being loved, the fear of not being accepted, of
mm,
being part of the community, that those are really big things. And when we're not feeling safe, we're going to protect ourselves, and the ways that we learn might not serve. Doesn't mean that we're bad. It doesn't mean that we're horrible people. It just means that that was what we learned, and we are intelligent, and we are capable, and we can learn new ways, and it's available. And for me, the guided energy medicine is
yeah.
what was the key to unlock that.
I just have to say how humble, I'm feeling right now while listening to you, because all of the, let's just say, trauma responses that you just
Yes.
listed out, like I am feeling
Yes.
up, I feel horrible, or like, I'm incapable and all that, right? It's all shared in a collective. You know how different our cultural backgrounds are.
Right.
We're so different in a way, but we're so similar. And then I feel like we're all together, we're weaving the thread together to become a really big masterpiece of tapestry,
Yes.
unknown one. It's so beautiful. But at the same time, sometimes we'll have to go alone for the deep, dark inner journey first
Mhm.
before we're able to, find each other. Like you and I, really like-minded, heart-based conversation people around me. I mean, I used to try my hardest to find, where are they, but I have a really difficult time to find my tribe. So
Yeah.
it really, really humbled me to a point where, like, go within, Jen, go within.
I love
Able,
that.
be able to handle the darkness of yourself before you even
Mm.
like learning for connections out there to see.
Yes.
And miracle do appear, or else we wouldn't have this conversation right now. Do you see?
I love that you said that, that there is that time where, you know, we are going it alone, but even in the going it alone, there is that inner light, I think, that's within all of us that allows us to um, connect into something that's maybe bigger than any one of us by ourselves.
Yeah.
And that it's in that darkness, it's in that aloneness that we find that light within, that's always accessible,
Mm,
and that spark that makes you you, and that never can be taken away and never leaves, and
yes.
it is always with you, loving you, guiding you. It's within us, and it's in that aloneness and that darkness, if we choose to have the courage and the perseverance um, to keep going in it.
Having the
I,
faith, having the courage, having the perseverance to choose us,
yes,
right?
yes,
To choose
yes.
ourselves.
To choose yourself, to
Okay,
choose
so
your own heart.
totally. So the very last question we'd love for you to share is how, because you and I, we are on this, medicine practice, energy medicine practice together. And would you love to share some of the experience you had with your client, how you helped them through your, guided energy medicine sessions?
It has been such a beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful experiences facilitating. I definitely am grateful for those that I worked with and them sharing with me. I have had one person share that I helped them walk through the grief
Mm.
uh, and get to the other side of grief, which is just so profound. I've had another person share that I can help them find their soul purpose,
Oh.
which is absolutely wonderful. Of course, my mind is blanking out because that's just the way it goes.
You're supposed to break out during Mercury retrograde, okay? We're all
And,
blinking out together. But I just want to say, like, energy medicine, it could sound really foreign to, let's say, the mainstream culture, right? So when I did my sessions with my beloveds, I have to let go of any expectation,
oh, absolutely.
teaching me to let go of my,
Yeah,
my ego mind, trying to control a certain way of how it's going to turn out, but always being amazed by, I'm not going to say the result, but then I'm saying how the whole entire process of being guided by something greater than you and I, it's
yeah,
immensely like humbling. It's immensely humbling, and
yeah,
be able to use this. It's not only a modality, but I think it's a really heart-based tool
yeah,
to support anyone who is open to receive their unknown. I think their unknown is a gem.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the most beautiful gifts in facilitating is
Mm.
being able to just hold that loving space and container
Yes.
for somebody to be seen in their fullness and um, start going into those places to clear out some of those old stories. And I love that when um, I'm facilitating that I know that it's not me that's doing it, it's coming through me. And I truly believe that it's coming from unconditional love,
Yes.
the unconditional universal love that of all that is. And um, whatever name, you give it, it's all up to you personally, but it is truly an honor to have that energy flowing through and to be able to clear out some stuff for people or help them with their clearing out old beliefs that no longer serve or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. It's a joy. It truly is a joy.
And again, coming back to full circle, healing journey is not a short process. It's a commitment of long practice, right? It's a long practice. But for us,
It
like
is.
um, when we're healing ourselves, when then we become more empty inside, we become a better vehicle for the divine, for the divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more of a hollow bone so that that pure energy can come through and um, be present and hold space while somebody is discovering it within themselves and cultivating it within themselves. It is truly
Magical.
magical. It
Yeah.
is. It's magical. It absolutely is. It's
Yeah.
magical, and there's such profound shifts that can happen, and allowing the time for those shifts to really fully integrate and making the choices because it's in the small things every day, in the moments of making the choices that the opportunity for that self-love to really deepen and expand from within comes.
Yeah. Okay, so last but never least, my dear sister, how can people find you? I know you have a Facebook page. It's beautiful with beautiful quotes and so inspiring. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, my Facebook page is Possibilities of Perspectives, and I also have a website at www.possibilityofperspectives.com.
Okay, so any last word or a prayer that you would love to give to anyone who's watching here?
Oh, well, again, thank you,
You're so
Jen,
good.
for
You're so
having
good at
me.
that.
And just if we all would like to take a moment to kind of come into our breath and just feeling that beautiful inhale, knowing that the trees and nature is offering us this beautiful oxygen that they've created, and allowing it to just fill your lungs and seep through your whole being, feeling the love of those trees and nature. And as you're exhaling, releasing anything that might feel stuck, but also knowing that your exhale is so welcome by the same trees that you breathe in the oxygen, that for them it is nourishment as they nourish us. And allowing yourself to feel that connection, as simple as breathing in and breathing out. And allowing your heart to receive the love from the trees, from nature. And again, as you exhale, knowing that your love is also welcome and received. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you. You just brought me back to nature. I will go out literally, but then you just brought me back to the connection of it. Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. So beautiful people, this is Michelle. And if you feel called and you feel open to explore more of your energetic cleansing, purification, reach out to Michelle. She's a gifted healer and you'll receive a lot of love and support from her. Right. Thank you so much, Michelle. And nice to see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.